Hi everyone. Yeah, I mean, look, one barometer people have of impartiality is the panels that you see on Question Time. And for the last full year that figures are available, apparently there were 28 panellists from non-dom or foreign-owned overseas billionaire sort of media outlets. 28 of those, and only 6 from centrist or centre-left. And I'm counting from Private Eye to the Daily Mirror, Novara and Vice Media. Doesn't that look massively unbalanced? Anyway.
I'm sorry to say I'm totally unaware of that data and where it's come from. All I know is that, so I'd be very interested to see it, but all I know is that the Question Time team, which is incredibly expert in this, spends a lot of time spinning a lot of plates in the air, trying to make sure that its panels are gender representative, are ethnically diverse, are geographically disparate, are socioeconomically representative, are politically representative of all of the different political parties and in the country, plus all kinds of other factors that weigh into their decision about who's on the panels, quite apart from whether or not the people concerned are actually good at being on panels or not. And so all of those factors are taken into account on a weekly basis, and over time, the Question Time team aspires to get a genuinely representative range of people with all sorts of different views on their panels. So I'm not aware of that piece of analysis. I'm very, very happy to have a look at it and see whether there's any inherent bias in what they're doing. But all I can say is they struggle incredibly hard. They have some advice from my chief advisor of politics about this. They struggle incredibly hard to make sure that panel is.
They also look at the long-term data. Yeah. So it's worth us just looking at the data and just making sure, in terms of in the round, because that's 34 people out of a lot. So we need to have a look at it in the round. No, I don't want to dismiss the data. I'm just saying there is, to David's point, if you talk to the Question Time, and well, I have, others have, we've been down there talking, many of you have had the pleasure, is they work extremely hard on a data-based approach. So we should look at that. I'm more than happy to look at it.
More figures from that same year, 22-23. 6 trade unionists. So these are people who represent millions and millions of working people. But 13 business people, the man from Sainsbury's, the man from Iceland, you see them pop up every week. 6 trade unionists only. It doesn't look right. And again, you said political balance. If you think about it, the Green Party are in power in Scotland. They have 1 MP in this place. I'm sure we don't see them as much as the 35 appearances Nigel Farage has done. Tice comes on a lot. Do you know what I mean? It feels like they're called Reform now, aren't they? That they're quite a regular fixture. Whereas parties they've never had anyone actually elected to Parliament. Do you know what I mean? It feels they have a lot of airtime from you guys.
Well, you're talking about the numbers of appearances by Nigel Farage over a very, very long period of time. If you totalled up all of the Green Party appearances over that same period of time, I'm sure it would come to a significant number as well. So I think you have to be really careful about comparing apples with apples and pears with pears here, making sure that you've got the right sorts of comparisons. But I mean, I'm very happy to take the figures away and take them to Question Time and ask them whether they think they've managed to fulfil the requirements that they have.
Do notice Melanie Phillips the other week, she's been on 28 times, Piers Morgan, people like that, 23 times. I mean, I know you want shock jock people for a bit of value who say something controversial, but still, you do have in your charter educate, inform, entertain, all that stuff. And to be, so I think that would be worth taking away and looking at.
Well, certainly, if you've got data which I haven't seen or which the Question Time team haven't seen, we'll certainly be happy to take it to the Question Time team and ask them to talk about, and if necessary, even drop you a line and explain what where they're coming from.
Right. Okay. I mean, the other case that popped up this week. I mean, if you think about, they're now called Reform UK, but in their previous incarnation as UKIP. David Cameron called UKIP a bunch of far-right, a bunch of fruitcakes, loons and closet racists. They're now called Reform UK. Their 1 MP was not elected but lost the Conservative whip for Islamophobic conspiracy outbursts that he did and wouldn't apologise. This week you've had to apologise for calling them far-right. I just wondered how much pressure you were under and from who, because it's not by Ofcom. So, yeah.
You know,
a lot of people would say, if you know, some of their candidates.
I don't think far right's the right label. Full stop. And that's our judgment editorially. Yeah, we may have different views on it, but I don't think it's the right label. In terms of pressure, we did have a few complaints, but we reflect on it ourselves. I mean, these are editorial judgments. My personal view is you've got to be a bit careful with far left, far right, with parties that carry quite a lot of support. And
where would you place them on the spectrum? I mean, some of the statements from some of their candidates are quite alarming. Yeah. The Guardian said they're a haven for conspiracy theorists, extremists. They're a social democrat party in all but name. They're against international law.
I understand, but with respect, if we judged our labels by individual quotes from members, I think that would be an interesting strategy in itself. I think they're clearly right. A party on the right to politics. I just think if you get into far left or far right descriptors, and we'll behave fairly on this, you end up in the wrong territory.
From them, they complained a lot, and then you back down. This grovelling apology.
We got complaints, but if you think we just, respond under pressure on that, that's not how we work. We consider.
It looks like it.
Well, it may, but I'm just telling you how it works. It absolutely, and I understand the concern. And these are judgments, but my view is we made the right call in terms of saying that is not the right label.
I mean, I know in 2021, James Wilde MP said there were not enough Union Jacks in your annual review.
I remember one of my only social media hits, where it's largely a positive experience for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a 268-page annual report, he didn't like the lack of union. So I'm glad you haven't backed down in some respects, but I think you could be a bit.
Sorry, I'm lost on the comment. I just want to understand it so I can respond.
Okay, so I don't know who's pressuring you. It just seems a bit odd that
if you're in my job, with respect. I am pressured from, and I love this job, but the pressure is ferocious from every side. If we responded to every, we're getting. This is a more polarised time. I talked about this. Everyone wants to ascribe intent. There are people who think we've got an agenda to the right, an agenda to the left. We're woke warriors on one side. We're small c conservatives on the other. I can tell you that if you go and meet the editors of programmes like this, Question Time, I'm fiercely proud of them, because what they're trying to do is calmly get this right. This is not for an agenda.
Send you those figures, because
they're very helpful. So we should have those figures, and they're useful for the Question Time team. They'll take them in the right spirit. But I'm just saying we're trying to make judgment that apply this fairly across the board. And by the way, I've had incoming on every side on Question Time.
Or Laura Koonsberg or any of those programmes, they have your 3 talking heads and you've got 2 leavers and a journalist or something. It's people do notice this. But okay, I'll send you some hard facts on this, because it looks like you're being lent on. The whole point of the midterm review.
I just want to be really clear, we're not being lent on.
Okay, I'm saying how it's
that's where I'm telling you as Director General that we're not being lent on in that way. We are open-minded to complaint. When complaints come in, reflect them and go, are we in the right place? Having smart people to do that. And as you know, we've split. David's, job focus is very much on pre-broadcast. We've got Peter Johnson as public. We might come to that in terms of the complaint system. It's very strong. They're very wise people, and they're thinking through these issues. They are, we do not make decisions based on strength of people leaning on us. We're an fiercely independent, without fear or favour broadcaster. That's what we stand for. And anyone who says different is factually incorrect. Now, that's not to say we're not immune from when people have views or comment. You reflect on it. It's not being weak to think through something if someone raises an issue. It's just sensible.
Have you got any comment on these stories that after forcing out people from the news channel and splitting, you're going to reverse everything you did? The merger, a lot of people lost their jobs over it, and now you're going to do an about turn and do separate channels for world and domestic again. It's been in the Telegraph. Is there any truth in that?
No, we always said that we would balance the different streams and ops, and we continually make changes. But the overall move to one news channel, and there are, I mean, to the earlier question, there are risks with that when you've got a big domestic story. But the other thing is, remember, I mean, we may well touch on funding. We have had our budget cut by 30% in 10 years to 2020, and we've had to cope with it. So you can't do everything. So I care about these things, but we had to make some changes. And we're not rowing back, but we'll make adjustments editorially as we go.
And last one from me, the Gary Lineker review, or whatever it was, the John Hardy review.
John Hardy review,
about
yeah.
the social media output.
There was only one person writing that review, to be clear. Yeah.
Not the midterm review.
I know there's been speculation on that, but yeah.
Not the midterm review, but that specific one from that case.
Yeah, the social media review by John Hardy is what we're referring to.
What's changed practically?
I think we're doing well. I mean, I know everyone have their view on what about that tweet or what. I honestly think we're doing very well based on what I see around the world. I mean, 20,000 people, yes, we have issues to deal with. And by the way, I did say to the committee, when you asked me, would I continue to have issues in social media, I said, absolutely. You've got 20,000 people with different accounts and this, that and the other. You're gonna have some exceptions and things going on. But when I look monthly at our reports on thousands of journalists, how they're behaving, and also across the BBC, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Are you confident it can withstand a general election? Someone won't be tempted
to I think it can. But do I think I'm going to be picking up the paper and not reading about anything in the next year? Only in my dreams. I think this is an area where you're constantly going to have to manage it. And you've got freelance community, you've got others. I think where I feel very strongly is, and remember, the guidelines are tight for news, journalist, factual programming, and I have to say they are doing an outstanding job, and I thank all of them. Local journalists, I mean, and they've been through a lot in terms of all the things going on. I think they behave brilliantly. I think it's working very well.
Thanks, Rupa.